Hello, we are the TTWS Consulting Group. My name is Ravina Temja, and I'm the leader of this project. My team members are Brian Trumpauer, Timothy Williams, and Alexia Suarez. This project is about a company called Uber. I handled the team intro, overview slide, brief background, interview, and narrated the PPT. Brian took one question to explore, research, and recommend. Timothy took another question to explore, research, and recommend. And finally, Alexia took care of the executive summary. This is the agenda, which includes team introduction and roles, agenda, history, operations and products and services, interview, question 1 and what the organization is currently doing, what recommendation will we suggest helping the organization, question 2 and what the organization is currently doing, what recommendation will we suggest helping the organization, and finally, summary, what have we learned. Uber's history, operations, products, and services. In Paris 2008, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp had trouble finding a cab to get to a conference. They came up with an idea to create an app that can allow you to get a ride using your phone with a tap of a button. This application is called Uber, meaning topmost or super, and having its origins in German language, Uber, meaning above. When Camp returned to San Francisco, he continued to go along with the idea. In 2009, Camp began working on the prototype for Uber Cab as a side project. Camp then persuaded Kalanick to join Uber Cab's chief incubator. In early 2010, they began to test the service in New York City using only 3 cars. Kalanick took over as CEO and Uber was officially launched in San Francisco, California. It has gained its popularity over the years and it spread so quickly throughout the globe. Operations. Uber operates in 632 cities and 77 countries worldwide. Its current value is roughly at $60 billion. For riders, Uber has been convenient and an inexpensive taxi service. With a tap of a button on your phone, a private driver picks you up and takes you to your destination. The nearest driver will be alerted and is often at your pickup location within minutes. For drivers, Uber provides outstanding pay and allows you to be your own boss. Uber is usually 25 to 50% cheaper than taxi cabs, as well as responds faster. Uber has a promotional deal when a rider signs up, the rider gets their first trip free up to $15. Products and services. Uber has vehicle options such as Uber Pool, Uber Car Seat, low-cost options, luxury options, Uber X, Uber XL, and Uber X Wave. Uber Pool is an option to share the ride and cost with others headed your way. Uber Car Seat is another option for families with young ones that need a car seat. Uber has low-cost options when you're riding solo or with friends. Uber X and Uber XL are the 2 low-cost options. Uber X is a go-to ride for any occasion. It is usually for those who are solo or have 3 other friends along with them. Uber XL is for a larger group, up to 6 people. Uber has also luxury option if customers prefer to ride in style. Finally, Uber X Wave is an option for those who want to request a wheelchair-accessible van. Aside from taxi products and services, Uber also provides Uber Eats and Uber Rush. Uber Eats is a quick delivery service from your favorite restaurants. Uber Rush is a reliable ride for your deliveries. You get fast packages pickups and immediate deliveries for the things you need to send. We interviewed a close friend that is currently an Uber driver. we have shared his experience with Uber. We asked him a couple of questions. The first question we asked was, how long have you been working as an Uber driver? He answered, since 2015, which is 2 years plus. What interested you in becoming an Uber driver? The flexibility and optional hours interested him. The opportunity to work for himself and rely on his ability to earn his own wage. Are there any disadvantages of being an Uber driver? He said that the competition has increased within the company. Too many drivers and other applications similar such as Lyft. We asked him how many hours a week would you say you spend driving? He said between 45 to 50 hours. It always varies. The next question I asked him was, how would you describe Uber's customer service if you had to reach out to them? He said it's computerized and difficult to get a hold of, almost impossible to get help actively and frequently. Many questions are answered through computerized and automatic response. How does the driving experience compare to what you'd expect? He says that every job is different from another, and there is always a different experience on a daily basis, mostly pleasant. What is your rating right now? 4.9. Are you going to continue working as an Uber driver? Yes, for the foreseeable future. Last question that I asked him was, what advice would you give someone who wants to become an Uber driver? He said to be prepared to sacrifice a lot of hours in the week in order to earn a substantial amount to be satisfied. The expenses are higher and more expected at first. Moving on to Uber's biggest issues. Uber's business model is undergoing stress tests in every city where it competes. An industry trailblazer, Uber is currently facing several issues within its operating environment from multiple angles and in multiple markets. Former CEO Travis Kalanick was forced Uber's board to step aside earlier this year due to cultivating a toxic work environment. Regulating agencies in hundreds of cities around the world advocate for cost-increasing safety and security measure implements. Competitors from within the ride-sharing industry, namely Lyft, and from existing cab companies are fighting for market share. Drivers are revolting, and there have been multiple problems with the Uber application that have caused frustration for customers. In 2016, Uber had adjustable net losses of $2.8 billion on revenue of $6.5 billion. Because the company is private, it's difficult to glean Uber's actual value, but analysis value it roughly at $60 billion. But the company is undergoing complications that's impeding its ability to create an IPO. The internal environment. Leadership failure starts from the top. In March 2017, Uber's board of directors paneled former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder and his law firm to address sexual harassment and equal opportunity allegations by a former engineer. The firm identified 4 prevailing themes with which Uber needed to take. 1. Tone at the top. 2. Trust. 3. Transformation. And 4. Accountability. Based on the report, it appears that Uber's human resource office was either substantially understaffed or not given the degree of importance required of a company of its scale. Simple recommendations such as limiting the budget available to managers for alcohol purchases, restrict reimbursement for alcohol-related events, and including training for managers on appropriate events for retreats and out-of-work events were recommended by the panel to a company with over 12,000 employees, not including its drivers. External issues. The first is a legal hurdle. Most state governments have consumer protections in place that create an unlevel playing field for existing taxi companies. MFC, known as Medallion Financial Corporation, who has over 528 million in tax medallion investments, estimates medallions and related assets such as the vehicle, taximeter, and roof lights exceeded 7.6 billion in New York City alone as of December 31, 2016. Uber has hired hundreds of lobbyists around the world to work with legislators to ensure that the company has allies in elected office who will protect its interests when it launches publicly. So the question will be a matter of when, not if, will state legislators weigh in on safety regulations after multiple complaints from consumer groups that Uber drivers are either grossly undertrained, underinsured, or not screened well enough against the right databases. TTWS recommendation on this matter is twofold. One, establish company lessons learned and share across the organization that identify regulations that will be mostly contested across the big city markets. These will likely include enhanced endorsements or insurance verifications that drivers are carrying a commercial rider clause in order to prevent the issue from being a policy taken up by consumer groups who use mass media to influence policymakers in Washington, D.C. Second, lobbyists working for Uber could also advocate for lessening medallion restrictions for major governments. Uber already has the upper hand as customer satisfaction is widely approved over that of traditional taxis at both availability and price point. Additionally, Uber does not need to carry vehicles, maintenance, or expenses on its balance sheets. Uber's motivation. Uber's main motivation for its employees is the flexibility that their drivers have. They can work whenever they like, wherever they like, on their own terms. Employees of Uber are many different types of people. Some work part-time, some work full-time, some have other jobs and drive for Uber as a side job. Tips are another motivational factor along with post-ride rating system. Flexibility and financial independence. Uber provides its drivers with many different motivational factors that affects the morale of their drivers. First, the drivers are self-sufficient. They work when and where they want. If a driver has extra time in the evening or morning before work, they could drive for Uber. If they decide to take a vacation and drive while they're in another city, perfect. They can set their start and end time each day, take breaks when they like, which is a welcome change for those who work 9 to 5 type of jobs. Another benefit is financial independence. Uber drivers are from all walks of life. Some working through school, some working full-time as a driver, some working part-time with another job. Not only do you get paid based on how often and where you drive, you also receive perks such as discounted rates for buying and leasing your Uber vehicle. Uber's tips and ratings. Tips are another motivational factor for Uber drivers. Just like any other service, tips are provided based on the quality of service. This is another reason for Uber drivers to do their best each time and provide quality, quick, and clean trips for the customers. An additional motivation factor is safety. Drivers' and customers' safety are equally important for Uber. This is handled through a rating system. If a driver or customer feels unsafe, they can rate their counterpart A from 1 to 5. If this is done, the two will not be paired together again. Motivational recommendations. Uber could benefit from a rental car fleet. from which they could charge directly to the customer and not have to consider the expense related to a driver or gas charges. Uber could also benefit from the growing field of automation, specifically the autonomous vehicle. Uber could use autonomous vehicles to completely remove the need for drivers, which would mean increased revenue. Lastly, Uber could benefit from a vehicle sharing service where a customer purchases a class of vehicle, including fees such as maintenance, cleaning, lease fees, insurance, etc. The customer could then, similar to a rental car process, own a class of rental vehicle that they could pick up and drop off at any location, and then trade into another vehicle within their class for any reason. This is a clash between rental car program and a timeshare. Summary. The objective of our analysis of Uber's organization is to understand the business and what it has to offer, as well as providing Uber's current issues and recommendations to increase the growth and survival. We began with roots of Uber, when and where it first started. Then we explored Uber's operation and their products. Understanding how the organization works will allow us to understand what drives their success internally. We also explained the biggest issues, internally and externally. Uber is facing competition issues against another application called Lyft. Uber also faced a net loss issue of $2.8 billion on revenue of $6.5 billion. We have also explained what Uber could benefit from: rental car fleet, from which they could charge directly to the customer and not have to consider the expense related to a driver or gas charges. Uber could also benefit from growing field of automation, specifically the autonomous vehicle. Lastly, Uber could benefit from a vehicle sharing service where a customer purchases a class of vehicle, including fees such as maintenance, cleaning, lease fees, insurance, etc. The customer could then, similar to a rental process, own a class of rental vehicle that they could pick up and drop off at any location, and trade into another vehicle within their class for any reason. Overall, Uber continues to expand all over the world and has increased successfully and very quickly. This concludes our project. Thank you for listening.